The door of my coffee shop groaned like it was in pain, and then a horn scraped against the frame, and I froze with a milk jug still in my hand. Something 11 feet tall was trying to fit through a door built for humans. I had exactly 2 seconds to decide if I should run, scream, or keep steaming milk. I chose the milk. My hands do that automatically when I panic. It turns out that habit saved the morning. 3 dragons stood in my shop. Real ones. Golden eyes, dark scales, wings folded tight against their backs, because my ceiling was nowhere near tall enough for them to spread out. The one in front had bronze scales and wore robes so fine they looked like they cost more than my entire building. He looked around my shop the way a king might look at a puddle. "You are the barista," he said, like the word tasted strange in his mouth. "That's me," I said, somehow keeping my voice steady. "What can I get you?" I found out later that their ship had been circling our planet for 2 days, watching, reading, learning everything they could about us before making contact. Someone on that ship had clearly done research on human coffee shops, because the bronze dragon spoke like he had memorized a menu. "We require your strongest preparation," he said. "We do not fear human stimulants." Behind him, the 2 younger dragons were staring at my pastry case with wide eyes, trying very hard to look bored and failing completely. Here is something nobody on Earth knew yet. Dragons do not have caffeine where they come from, nothing close to it. Their bodies run on some kind of internal fire that never needed coffee, tea, or anything like it. Nobody told them that just because a chemical does not exist in your world does not mean your body is ready for it. I also run a shop 3 blocks from a university, which means I make drinks that students describe as dangerous. "Our strongest drink is called the reactor," I said. 4 shots of espresso, no water, no ice. It's not really a coffee. It's more of a warning label. "We do not fear warnings," the bronze dragon said, standing taller. So I made 3. I told them to sip slowly. I said it clearly, out loud, in plain words. I even said it twice, because something about the way they were looking at the cups told me they had never been told to be careful about a drink before. I did everything right. I was a good barista that day. What happened next was not my fault. The bronze dragon did not sip slowly. He drank it in one motion, like he was trying to prove something to the cup itself. For a moment, nothing happened. The whole shop went quiet. Even the 2 younger dragons stopped moving. Then something changed behind the bronze dragon's eyes. His pupils shrank to tiny points, then blew open wide, like his whole body had just received the best and worst news of his life at the same time. His tail, which had been resting calmly around a table leg, shot straight up and knocked a plate of pastries clean off the counter. "By the flame," he whispered, in a voice much higher than the one he walked in with. The 2 younger dragons stared at him like he had grown a second head. Then, because teenagers are the same in every corner of the galaxy, they both immediately drank their own cups just to see what would happen. What followed was the most entertaining 4 minutes of my entire life behind that counter. One of the younger dragons began to shake. Not tremble, shake, like his whole body had turned into a tuning fork. His wings, which had been folded so politely a moment before, snapped open so fast, they knocked over a hanging plant and sent it spinning across the floor. The other younger dragon started talking, fast. Words spilled out of him in 3 different languages at once, so quickly that even his little translator device seemed to be struggling to keep up. He turned to me with wide, shining eyes and asked, with complete sincerity, if I would like to hear a long poem he had just made up about my espresso machine. And the bronze dragon, the leader, the one who had walked in like visiting royalty, was now standing perfectly still in the middle of my shop, with both hands pressed flat against the counter. He was breathing slowly through his nose, like he was trying to defuse a bomb hidden somewhere inside his own body. I swear I saw a thin line of steam curling off his scales. "Is this," he said, forcing each word out one at a time, "a kind of poison?" I could not answer right away, because I was laughing too hard. I had to sit down on my little stool behind the counter, just to keep from falling over. He was swaying now, gripping the edge of the counter so tightly his claws were leaving small marks in the wood. His tail was thumping against the floor in a fast, steady rhythm. "It's a latte," I finally managed to say. You drink this, he said, his voice climbing higher. On purpose? Every day? Every morning, I said. Sometimes twice. And you are not like this all the time? We build up a tolerance. He stared down at his own claws, which were tapping against the counter faster than his eyes could follow. I watched something shift in his face, like a lifetime of certainty was crumbling in real time. Your kind, he said slowly, built machines that cross the stars, while your blood does this to you. We built those machines because our blood does this to us. He did not have an answer for that. He made a low sound in his chest, somewhere between a growl and a groan, and then sat down right there on my shop floor, wings spread out awkwardly around him, because even a creature who had crossed galaxies had a limit, and 4 shots of espresso had found it. By this point, the young dragon who could not stop talking had moved on to reciting his poem to a college student who had just walked in for a plain scone, and instead found herself standing in the middle of an alien coffee emergency. She had her phone out, filming everything, her mouth hanging open in disbelief. The other young dragon had wandered behind my counter and was now staring at the milk steamer like it held the secrets of the universe, poking it gently with one claw every few seconds and jumping back each time it hissed. I leaned against the counter and just watched. An entire alien delegation, defeated not by weapons or warships, but by a $5 cup of coffee. It took almost 20 minutes for the bronze dragon to speak in full sentences again. When he finally stood up, his legs were still a little shaky, and his voice had dropped back down closer to normal, though there was a new nervous energy behind his eyes that had not been there before. We were told, he said carefully, that your species was not dangerous, that you had no great weapons, no armies large enough to concern us. That's true, I said. We don't. They were wrong, he said, looking at the empty cup like it might attack him again. You have this. I explained, as gently as I could, that coffee was something almost every human drank without thinking twice. That children were taught not to touch it until they were older, not because it was rare, but because it was so normal that adults needed rules to keep it in check. I told him about people who drank 5 cups a day and still slept fine at night. I told him this was, for us, an ordinary Tuesday. He looked at his 2 companions, who were now sitting quietly on the floor, wings drooping, both of them staring at the ceiling with the calm, dazed expressions of creatures whose entire understanding of themselves had just been rearranged. We came expecting to test your strength, the bronze dragon said. Your machines, your weapons. Instead, we have learned something else. What's that? I asked. That we should never underestimate a species, he said, that willingly drinks something this powerful for pleasure, every single day, before doing anything else. I could not argue with that. I poured him a small glass of water instead, and he drank it like it was the finest thing he had ever tasted, which, considering the last 20 minutes, it probably was. Before they left, the 2 younger dragons asked, almost shyly, if they could come back sometime. Not for the strongest drink this time, they promised, laughing in a way that still sounded a little unsteady. Maybe something smaller, something they could enjoy without ending up on the floor of a coffee shop in front of a laughing human and a filming college student. I told them the door was always open, as long as they promised to duck. The bronze dragon paused at the doorway before leaving, turning back to look at me one more time. Tell your leaders, he said, that we have decided humans are not to be underestimated. Tell them we understand your strength now. I nodded, trying to keep a straight face, because if he knew our real secret weapon was something you could buy for a few dollars at nearly any corner of the planet, I was not sure the galaxy was ready for that information. After they left, the college student who had filmed the whole thing looked at me with wide eyes and asked if that had actually just happened. I handed her a scone, on the house, and told her that some days, this job was the best one in the world. Word got out fast. By the next morning, my shop had a line down the block, and I had a new sign taped to the door that read, in careful letters, "Please warn all first-time customers about the reactor." I meant it as a joke, but after that day, I never once forgot to say it out loud again.